6 years and more. So we should acknowledge that towards the end. Jai Baba,
Atar Meher
Ravi,
Baba ki jai.
Jai.
So,
Tar Mere Baba
yeah,
ki Jai. Yes.
yeah, 1 second. I'm just bringing up the. So let's start with 7 realities. Should we go ahead? You can read this. Yeah.
Avatar
Jai
Meher
Baba.
Baba ki Jai. Jai Baba. Avatar Meher Baba ki Jai.
Oops.
There's something. Uh,
Yeah.
if you can, yeah. Just 1 second. I'll start all over again. Avatar Meher Baba ki Jai. The 7 realities: existence, love, sacrifice, renunciation, knowledge, control, and surrender. I give no importance to creed, dogma, caste, or the performance of religious ceremonies and rites, but to the understanding of the following. 1. The only real existence is that of the one and only God, who is the self in every finite self. 2. The only real love is a love for this infinity God, which arouses an intense longing to see, know, and become one with the truth, with its truth, God. The only real sacrifice is that in which, in pursuance of this love, all things, body, mind, position, welfare, even life itself, are sacrificed. 4. The only real renunciation is that which abandons, even in the midst of worldly duties, all selfish thoughts and desires. 5. The only real knowledge is the knowledge that God is the inner dweller in good people and in so called bad, in saint and in so called sinner. This knowledge requires you to help all equally as circumstances demand, without expectation of reward. When compelled to take part in a dispute, to act without the slightest trace of enmity or hatred, to try to make others happy with brotherly or sisterly feeling for each one, and to harm no one in thought, word, or deed, not even those who harm you. 6. The only real control is the discipline of the senses to abstain from indulgence in low desires, which alone ensures absolute purity of character. 7. The only real surrender is that in which poise is undisturbed by any adverse circumstance, and the individual amidst every kind of hardship is resigned with perfect calm to the will of God. Avatar Meher Baba ki Jai.
Atar Meher Baba ki jai. Thank you very much. Let's get started with where we left last week, which is phases, right? We read phases, the chapter on phases. Let's continue from there. Tar Meher Baba ki jai. The oops, I think a little what happened last time. Tar Meher Baba ki jai. The most important aspect of God. The avatar's work is always connected directly with the reality of God because he himself is the big R reality. And through his work, he shapes the shadow of his own reality, big R, in such proportions so that the shadow does not expand more than the necessary proportions. required to balance the pull between his infinite consciousness and infinite unconsciousness. This ultimately means to mankind that the avatar brings everything in the world into proper balance so that the journey of each individual toward the truth may become natural and not in a zigzag, unnatural way. So, if I pause here, this is a continuation of what we read in the last week, where he talks about the balance between infinite consciousness and infinite unconsciousness. In fact, before the balance, he says it is a pull which is maintained by the avatar, the pull of both the forces, right? So this 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 is what brings balance to the whole of the world, whole of creation, rather. Right? Let's continue.
It's very
As
profound,
man,
Karthik. One second,
yeah,
let me give
absolutely.
my 2 cents, if you don't mind.
Sure, sure.
Uh, See, long time ago, it's I think Bhau Culture. I think when I attended talk, is this the impersonal and personal aspect? Is this the first paragraph? Is the first paragraph
No, no,
above?
no, about, yeah. This is the first paragraph.
Okay, okay, okay. See here, there's a lot of things to understand. Mainly, put it in a practical way. Some people go to Mehrabad, Upper Mehrabad, so many times. Some people go once in a lifetime. Some people don't even go there, right? But still, they are Baba lovers. And let's talk
Correct.
about the people who go to Mehrabad. Some people one time in a life, and some people go. And when we go there, Baba, it seems, gives us a present. When we bow down to him in the samadhi alone, even though there are people in the line, but we alone go inside and bow down, right? In that moment of interaction with the avatar, Baba gives us a gift. And
Mm.
how much is that gift is so much that his lover can handle it, not more, not less. And then Baba says, when you come to me, go straight home and then lead your life. Don't go here and there. So that he can take that present with him to home and share it with the family. He may know or may not know that he's sharing, but he will certainly share Baba's love through the family, and that's how they'll lead the life. And that is probably, I'm getting this thought when I read this paragraph.
Yeah, the extension of that into our current realm where we don't have Baba, but we have this opportunity of contact and hence this prasad, which helps us
Mhm.
balance and spread his.
Exactly. Mhm.
Very nice. Yeah, nice
Jai
analysis.
Baba, Karthik,
Yeah,
if I may, if you,
sure.
you know, again, the example of seesaw comes into my mind of, balance is when the seesaw is at equilibrium and there is a pull of infinite consciousness and infinite unconsciousness, two forces,
Correct.
and
Yes.
both together brings the uh, equilibrium, or let's say balance. Just putting a little bit of physics into this, but that's the way I understood.
No, no, correct. I agree with that. And I was also reminded of the uh, analogy where we use the seesaw.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, that's just
let's
my
continue.
simple way of retaining things. Maybe it's too simplistic, but that's the way I try to remember.
Is CISA
Yes.
compared here? Are we CISA compared here?
Oh, okay, Ravi. I'll tell you the background. I'll share the diagram. If you put a seesaw and put infinite consciousness on one side and infinite unconsciousness on the other side, and the balance is when the seesaw is absolutely, horizontal to the ground. So that's equilibrium or poise, because Baba has used the word equipoise, or let's say nearest word to that is equilibrium.
Mm. See,
Okay,
the
I
I
mean,
think,
that's my
unconscious, the
yeah, go ahead,
that's
unconscious
just
part
Ravi.
is trying to reach the conscious part of it, unite with its partner, right? So it's not the balance, it's always imbalance that is there between consciousness and unconsciousness. That is why they want to unite. You see what I mean? They want
Karthik.
to
Can you
become
read this
balanced.
again?
They want to become one. That is the perfect state of balance. It's not that he is one side of the saw, he is in the other side of seesaw. They're not balancing. They
No, no,
are
no. I don't think
ignorant.
seesaw is, no. I mean, to be fair to Ashok, all he's saying is that he's reminded of the seesaw as a visual representation of the role of the avatar to balance these two forces which are on either side of the seesaw, nothing beyond. He's not saying that one is heavier. No, he's not saying. He's just visually trying to use a mnemonic to remember for himself this idea, and we should let that be. I think he also made a diagram. Where did you send it to me? Sure.
Yeah, I send it to you on your Telegram personal. But if you can read the last line, it says the truth may become natural and not in a zigzag, unnatural way. Can you please read the paragraph again if you don't mind?
Yeah. So just to make sure that he converted his mental imagery, I will share what he has shared on screen here. Just 1 second. So, you want to explain this?
See, there are basically two forces. Uh, if you go into physics, so infinite unconsciousness and infinite unconsciousness, both there has to be a balance and a true natural way, and that is when you have full um, effect of the grace of Meher Baba, or effect of the grace of the universal force. Let's say the
Okay. There's
uncaused
one
cause.
problem with the analogy. There's one problem with the analogy. Let's say it comes to horizontal to the ground, which is what you're describing a few seconds back, right? So at
Yes,
that time, is one in dominance or zero is in dominance? Neither are in dominance, they are in balance, correct?
correct. They are in balance.
Okay, so
What is balance?
that
What is
state,
balance?
that state is the state of the avatar when he is in creation, where he's constantly balancing the two. Just so that we understand, because finally, infinite consciousness prevails, right? So that's the more superior state, no doubt about it. But just so that we are not confused, it's just that the role of the avatar, this dot here, is to make sure that he balances these two forces when he is in creation, because both are equally strong, and he starts by representing C, consciousness, but takes on U, comes into unconsciousness to manage it. So that's it. So I think don't think beyond that for now, and let's continue reading to see what
Yeah, yeah,
we
yeah,
understand
yeah.
from that. That's my
We can continue.
humble.
Yeah, fair point. This is just uh, a very simplistic thing, and I would request you to read the paragraph again, and then the last line
Yes.
is
Okay.
got the essence. The last line in that
Sure. 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 Sure.
that that can be highlighted also if you want.
Okay. The avatar's work is always connected directly with the big R reality of God, because he himself is the big R reality. And through his work, he shapes the shadow of his own big R reality in such proportions so that the shadow does not expand more than the necessary proportions required to balance the pull between his infinite consciousness and infinite unconsciousness. This ultimately means to mankind that the avatar brings everything in the world into proper balance so that the journey of each individual toward the truth may become natural and not in a zigzag, unnatural way. Now, the last line, I thought Ravi ji beautifully linked to uh, the prasad and personal contact with Baba that one receives, so that he keeps nudging us to ensure that proper balance. Right? So,
And
you
this
wanted to
makes
highlight with the
sense.
last line?
Yeah,
Yeah,
this makes perfect sense.
yeah,
We need a balance. We need a state of mind such that we can do our journey towards the consciousness. That's what he's talking
yeah,
about.
yeah.
If you are imbalanced with our own issues, we cannot journey, we cannot make journey. So within
Correct.
ourselves, we have to make a perfect balance. Then only we can go. Yeah, Baba.
Yeah, Baba. I continue. As Meher
Jai
Baba
Baba,
manifests,
I have
yeah, Kama.
a okay. I am in Banaras in near Ramnagar anyway. We just had some kachori and jalebi, but I was just reading the last two paragraphs that you just read, where God manifests through the avatar in personal form, right? And he says it's very important for mankind to know God through his personal form. So what reminds me is that man is in the image of God. So I think the human being, as we know from God speaks, has full and complete consciousness. So the human form itself is um, like an analogy for the personal form of God, where the human being is already fulfilled and has full and complete consciousness. So I just wanted to mention that, Jai Baba.
Yeah, yeah. That also is absolutely right. Correct. Okay. Let's continue. As Meher Baba manifests to the world, mankind will become more deeply concerned with God because mankind will be witnessing the avatar's manifestation of God. Mankind will gradually accept Meher Baba as the avatar of God, and naturally, people will become interested to know of the different aspects of God and the different aspects of the avatar's life as God man. In this way, mankind will know through the avatar more about both the impersonal and the personal aspects of God. Sakar God and Nirakar God, both will be accessible or understood slowly by more and more and more people. Though most of mankind is interested in the avatar's personal aspect, this personal aspect reveals the side of his impersonal aspect. During the manifestation and afterward, the personal aspect of God will always be evident to mankind because the personal aspect is the very medium he employs to reveal to mankind his impersonal aspect. Whether in the future or in the present, the personal aspect is the most important aspect of God to mankind. Because through the body of the avatar, God has given out everything necessary in this avataric advent to the world. The personal aspect of God has been presented to the world through the body of the avatar, his photographs, films, messages, and his tomb. And through the body of the avatar, the infinite consciousness of the impersonal God has worked internally and personally for each individual. I again draw attention to Ravi's point where he mentioned personal contact, and the body of the avatar is described to include photographs, films, messages, books, and his tomb. So, which is what Ravi was saying, right? So, Bhau in multiple messages has underlined the importance of the tomb, as we are aware. And this is yet another example of that, right? The personal and impersonal aspects cannot be separated in God, even when he is in human form, because in order to reveal the knowledge necessary in awakening mankind to his impersonal form of infinite consciousness, he must take a personal form. Thus, through the birth, life, and death of the personal body of the avatar, God reveals both sides of himself to mankind. Ultimately, it is the impersonal, infinite consciousness that individual human consciousness merges with forever. But while individual human consciousness remains bound in illusion, it is always the personal side of God through the avatar that is most important to the individual. So, though the final state of pana and when you reach God realization, it is always that infinite, impersonal, infinite consciousness is what human consciousness merges with. The personal form remains very, very important to the individual because that's the only way you're able to relate to something that's very difficult to relate to. So, again and again, we have heard this concept. It's so important. Okay, so that is
Jay
the,
Baba, again,
yeah,
you're coming to the eternal avataric infinite consciousness, state 2B. So
correct.
basically, here he is mentioning state 2C, the personal form of God, when he has not dropped his body as a perfect master or avatar, and impersonal form of God, which is basically the eternal avataric infinite consciousness, which is what is coming through the avatar
Correct.
as different avatars, basically. Yeah. Jai Baba.
Yeah. So to see and to be formless, and what is EAIC? EAIC is not mentioned here, but we will go see that as well. Yeah, here it is. So I am going to Beams, and Beams uses this phrase eternal avataric infinite consciousness. So infinite consciousness enters the soul of the first man, and that is nothing but Baba, the avatar, and that's the phrase that Kamal just used. So, and in the diagram, we saw what's 2C and what's 2B. Yeah, just cross-referencing so that we drill it down into our heads more and more. Yeah. Okay, so let's go to the next chapter, and it reads, God is not asleep. Every ordinary human being must sleep because every ordinary person exerts himself physically while awake. The avatar is no ordinary man, and he is never asleep even after he has dropped his body. When he, the avatar, declares he sleeps between advents for 700 or 1400 years, it does not mean he is asleep, but that he is resting and that he does not have to exert physically to do his work. The avatar has already completed the work for the next 700 years up to his next advent. So, whatever is required for his universal work, he has made provisions to accomplish those results through his impersonal, infinite consciousness. There is no physical exertion during those periods, 700 to 1400 years, when he is not physically present. I repeat, there is no physical exertion during those periods, 700 to 1400 years, when he is not physically present. Nevertheless, he always maintains the responsibility for the universe. I dare say universes. So the idea of, so at a level, uh, infinite consciousness obviously doesn't sleep at all. But if you see it through the lens of, okay, so what's the avatar doing in these 700 years? See, again, we have to understand avatar as being different from Parakar Parabrahma. So here we see that the avatar is in a sort of state of resting, a state of suspension of animation, but he is absolutely active. He has done all the work that is required for the next 700 to 1400 years already, right? So this is interesting. Again, these are as Kama said, the uh, mm, avatar's definition and understanding as given in discourses and God speaks is kind of extended and explained more in detail in this book, as we can see. Any thoughts before we go to the next one?
Hey, Baba Karthik, I have just one observation. You said suspension. I think the universal force is already the universal force or the avatar's uh, energy is already there. He's resting, but he's not.
No,
He's
no, I
visible.
also added one more word. I did not use only suspension. I said suspension of animation, suspension of, I should even say suspension of physical uh,
Okay, okay.
form. Yeah, so okay, you can use any word. Apologies if that doesn't convey
Anthony,
what it had to convey. All
my
I'm saying is it is a temporary phase where there is no physical form. That's all. But he's done the work already. And
yeah, yeah.
he's always there in the sense that whether he is in form or not, the individualized consciousness of Baba, which is now infinite and which is now having EAIC, eternal avataric infinite consciousness, is there forever and is active forever. But he is resting in the period 700 to 1400 years. These are again very technical aspects, but it's
Yeah.
important that we understand it at that level.
It's perfect.
No,
It's basically
I
he's
have a slightly
omnipresent.
different. I was slightly different. Maybe I'm wrong, but let me put forth my thoughts and
Sure.
see what Kama, you and Ashok or whoever is there, Sunil, what you think. See,
Everybody, yeah.
Baba Avatar comes, so he's the beyond state of God, and now he is manifested. And when he manifested, he gets God realization and then starts working as an avatar. And then during his period, all the perfect masters they don't do any work. They just stay there. Even Mandali also, circle members also, Baba does the work, and Baba also uses them to do whatever the intention Baba had through them, and they work. And Baba also, Avatar also works manifest form and unmanifest form. And after 100 years after he dropped the physical body, the unmanifest form working goes on. And we have been observing either in the form of COVID or AI, artificial intelligence, or 9/11 war or Bombay attacks, all these things contribute, COVID, contribute to the erasing of the sanskaras. And some people die and they're born again. Some destruction is happening for the renewal. After 100 years, the regular pattern settles in. Then what happens to this avatar? And my thought is he just goes back and lives as beyond state of God. And the five perfect masters take over, and the Ishvara, who is in control of the universe, he takes over and controls the universe. This is my thought, and let's see what other people think.
Okay, your thoughts are in. So I will. This line seems to suggest your thoughts may be wrong. Here, there is an active and continuous role for the individualized infinite consciousness in the form of Baba and the avatar, where he's there all the time. So if you use the word Ishvara as used in infinite intelligence and God speaks, that's a very limited role. It's not Paratap, Paratpara, Parabrahma. It's just the CPD, creator, preserver, destroyer role. Whereas this is a more profound and deeper responsibility for all the goings on in creation, right? Not just CPD. CPD is like technical. Somebody puts stuff in a in the laboratory, puts a few chemicals and creates something. Another person destroys it. So it's just that part, the technical part of it, the Ishvara role. That's my reading. I may be wrong. Others, you want to respond to Ravi?
See, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
No,
Rama.
Ishvara is not just, he does that, creation, maintenance, and destruction, but he also is the God. No sanskaras in the universe. The beyond state of God doesn't do anything about the creation world. He has no, if you pray to beyond state of God, he doesn't do anything. He hands over you to a perfect master. Even if you pray to Ishvara, if you want a car or something, material things, he'll give you. But if you want to love God for the God realization, he doesn't deal with that. He gives to a perfect master. See, that's what the Ishvara plays, not just what is that creation, maintenance,
CPD,
and CPD,
creation,
CPD, but
preserving,
other
yeah,
things also.
CPD, yeah.
He's the God takes care of the whole universe, and five perfect masters, the universal laws, they maintain that. Yeah, Deva.
Yeah, I think,
Jay Baba, my question is that in God Speaks, Baba doesn't use the word Ishvara, but doesn't mean
correct.
that that doesn't exist. It's a
Infinite
different aspect
intelligence.
of,
Yeah.
yeah, it is probably a different aspect of God that is being used to explain something based on context. So definitely the word Ishvara has been used in our Hindu tradition.
Correct.
So my only clarification is basically, see, as in physics, everything has to be kept simple. And I think God Speaks, Beams, Discourses has simplified the whole theme of creation. Infinite Intelligence, Tiffin Lectures, and Creation, those books basically complement, whatever has already been written in God Speaks. And so my question is basically, if I really want to understand the academic intellectual meaning of Ishvara in terms of the perfect masters or the 56 God realized souls, so I'm just wondering, how does one bring Ishvara and understand the correlationship between the avatar, God realized souls, and so on and so forth? So I'm still pondering on that. I'm still trying to understand how Ravi interprets this
Actually,
word Ishvara.
actually,
Yeah.
Kama, have you ever had a chance to listen to Peter Nordin? He has got number of talks.
Well, I've
Very
listened to a
beautiful
couple of other.
historian,
Yes. Okay.
very beautifully. And he often mentions that Mehra and money plays a major role in avataric. And I never read anywhere, but it's very clear. Mehra Baba denoted she represents the Maya creation. It's very clear. And she loves Baba the most. Baba gave a lot of importance to Maya, Mehra. And nowhere I read this, but Peter Nordin mentions, I don't know where he got this, in two or three lectures, that money represents Ishvara.
Oh,
That
really? That's very interesting. And
really, as I thought, that's very interesting. Yeah. Money
so,
represented
if you can give
Ishvara.
that reference, that would be very useful. That's,
Yeah,
I would
I'll
dare
send you
say,
the
interesting and provocative interpretation. But I'd like to
two
know
or
more.
three
Yeah.
lectures I listened to the same. I want to send a message to Peter Nordin. Hey, where did you hear this? I'm sure he has been there
Yeah.
since 1975. One of the Mandali
Yeah.
must
Yeah.
have told him that. He doesn't lie.
Yeah. He's
He's
very
very
careful with
specifically, he
what he
says that,
says. Yeah. Yeah.
what he
Yeah.
says.
It's very, very.
But I think he gave a lecture in New Zealand most recently. I heard that with a blue shirt. Peter Nordin. I'll send the link in the WhatsApp.
I
Yeah,
think something
Jai
popped
Baba.
up from Peter Nordin recently. I don't think I listened to it.
Hmm.
Yeah, but I
Um,
will.
yeah, Jai Baba. So I'm still, like I said earlier in one of our discussions, that we know from discourses, the meditation chapters, especially the chapter number 4, where the best way of being being connected to a master is with a live perfect master, right? And you just do the LOSS, love, obedience, surrender, sacrifice, to a living perfect master. The second probably option is that you focus on the avatar. Baba has mentioned that irrespective of which religion you're born in fact, he encourages people to stick to their birth operating system, the religious, the religion that they are born with, and focus on the avatar and his messages and not to divert. And then when the time is ready, the teacher appears, the perfect masters appears. What I wanted to say was, for people who don't have the grace of, let's say, in the current century, like we do have the grace of Meher Baba, who is the eternal perfect master or the supreme Sadguru, people who are still waiting for the grace of a living perfect master, the best option is to focus on the avatar of their particular religion. Based on my own understanding, like I said earlier, that uh, many of the saints in India who attain God realization, um, at least some of them directly worship the avatar, and they were able to get God realization. Like, for example, if you take Ramana Maharishi, he basically had this awakening when he was 16 years old, and then he went to Tiruvannamalai and went through his silent mode for 20 years. And he basically, for him, the mountain, Arunachala, manifested Shiva. He could see Shiva in Arunachala mountain, but we just see a rock. So he never mentioned about being, affiliated with any perfect master as such. Even though he met different God realized beings, or people on different paths. So the like I'm coming again to the notion that, is it mandatory? I think this is where I think Ravi and I differ. Is that I've still not found, the conviction that, is it mandatory to have a living perfect master to get God realization, or even mukti or liberation? If you just focus on the avatar diligently, Jai Baba.
If you make
Okay.
Avatar as your guru, Baba as your guru, he will take care of everything. If you need a living master, he will provide. Let's say that. Not really what actually happens. Everyone's path is different to the goal.
Yeah, I think
So,
I agree with what Ravi said. With all the broader and uh, I would say the import of the messages of Baba, he has only said, "Leave it to me, but come to me and surrender." So LOSS, and he never says anybody else, himself, Baba. So I would assume that that's all you need from a very general standpoint. But Kama, if you find something more interesting, please do your research and come back. And also, I will probably run some queries on Notebook LLM using AI to see this Ishvara definition versus only using Baba's text, and see what comes of it. Ishvara versus Avatar. Okay. And maybe I'll come back later. Why I don't want to do it now is I don't want to distract, and because there can be mistakes that crop up there. So I'll do some detailed work and come back to the group. Yeah. Okay. Let's go to the
I have a
next
question,
chapter. Yes, Sunil. Go ahead.
slightly different from earlier discussion. Avatar's appearance every 700 to 1400 years and his avataric work, all this is within the illusion or outside the illusion?
The avatars,
Everything is an
Only
illusion.
everything
correct.
is in
Avatar's appearance is in the illusion.
In the illusion.
nothing else.
He appears
Can you
into
be out of
illusion,
illusion?
yeah, to help. It's
We don't know how to be out of illusion.
So all this is happening in illusion. 700, 1400, Avatar's work, universal work.
correct.
Everything, everything.
So
Because
even
nothing happens
illusion,
in.
so it's I think the best analogy ever is the dream, right?
Mm.
It's
Mm.
so real when you're in it. Moment you wake up, you realize that it was only a dream. So it's exactly that we are in now. It's absolutely real for us. I can pinch myself. I can go hug a person. I can eat. I can enjoy that, and so on and so forth. But all of this is in that dream or within a dream state. And the moment that kicks out, that's when illusion ends, right? So, yes, Baba comes into illusion out of his infinite compassion with his EAIC in Tao, so that he has all the power to help illusion. Why? To move them out of illusion. So it's
Mm.
he's getting into a dream to help those in the dream to get out of the dream. So to use that uh, dream
Your
analogy.
loving Baba is also illusion. But the love is
Yes,
Yeah.
in
the
illusion.
the yeah in illusion. Only the love, wholehearted, forgetting yourself. That is the problem. See, what is coming in our loving Baba is I consciousness is coming in the way. I means I am Ravi, I am this body, I am this mind, my characteristics are these. These things are coming in the way. When you forget that the purity of your love becomes very, very powerful. When that becomes to the stage of perfect powerfulness, then he will grab you. He will delete all the sanskaras that you have been accumulating over millions of years or billions of years. And then you
Okay, another
see that
question.
reality. Hmm?
Yeah, thank you.
In
Thank you.
fact, Sunilji, before you go to the next question, just hold on to it. I have a follow-up question to your question in the sense, where is that coming from? Very, very profound question on the is Baba an illusion? So why did you think of that question? What made you ask that?
Why did I think? No, I was actually thinking of time dimension, 700,
Okay,
1400,
okay, got it,
and
got it.
the question came because in uh, in reality, time dimension doesn't exist,
Exactly, perfect.
right?
Understood,
So
understood.
it appears only in cosmic world. So
So exactly same logic even there. In the
yeah.
dream, time dimension is suspended or operates on a different scale, and we experience that
Mm.
in a dream, right? So you go through multiple experiences in a few minutes, right? So time is suspended.
Right.
So yes, Baba, who is timeless, comes into this illusory time, lives a day, sleeps, wakes up,
Mm.
and becomes part of illusion temporarily. Go ahead with your second
So
question. Thank you for
I
clarifying.
was why it came is in my mind is when he takes human body, he goes back, he's not in human body, and then he comes back in 17 or 1400 years or 700 years. For him, is time still elapsing or not, or for us? So that there was when the conflict came in my mind. Then now I
Beautiful.
understood it's all in illusion,
Different.
including
Yes.
his going and coming. Uh, what happens at Mahapralaya? Does the time stop?
No. So
Okay, Baba.
wait.
Okay.
Let me asking
Okay.
anyway.
So no, no. Then you get
Ravi,
into
go
a
ahead.
loop.
Everyone
Then you
wants
get
to
into
speak.
Jai
Okay, go
Baba,
ahead.
let me give you my
Jai Baba.
okay. Let me give you my interpretation for what Sunil is saying. Let's look at the micro aspects of our daily life. Three different states of consciousness. So, being a student of physics, only in the waking state, the Newton's third laws on the macro world and the quantum physics of the micro world applies. Baba has also said the gross sphere is the tip of the iceberg of the subtle sphere. Subtle sphere is the tip of the iceberg of the mental sphere. All three are part of the illusion. It's only the real sphere, which is there in God speaks, as we know. There is also a composite sphere. So technically, we are all acting right in the waking state. Forget about the dream state and the sound sleep state because we don't have control on that. But this is where the karma, destiny, or free will comes into place. Karma is what are the cards that you're dealt with. Now, how you play the card, is the free will. It's like playing bridge or whatever. Like so, there itself, you have an illusion. Like the funny thing is, suppose you're given a role in a play, you got to stick to the script even though you are not an actor in real life, you're a family man and like a regular person. But when you are playing the role, you have to play that acting role. So that is what we are all doing. Number two is, this 400, 700 years is equivalent to all the physical constants, which we all know in the laws of matter, right? Gravitational constant, Planck's constant, so on and so forth. And in the spiritual life also, we have all these 7,000 in the spiritual hierarchy, 56 God realized souls. That is also there. So those rules are there as part of the dream. I think the bigger picture is that this whole life is full of paradoxes. And Baba said it very clearly that you have to accept paradoxes. And the only way you will be able to transcend paradoxes is when you become God realized. One is the understanding of Maya, which is 50% of life, because wherever there is God, there is Maya. Second is basically the understanding of paradoxes. And third, we know from God speaks, as Baba said in the stage two of God, that only the state one of God and state two of God are real, right? In that sense. Because everything, infinite consciousness, infinite unconsciousness, the whim, and so on and so forth, is part of the grand illusion, right? So I think in that sense, the conclusion I have for myself is when I am attached to my body, gross, subtle, or mental, then I'm living in illusion. But if I don't identify with the body and I understand that I'm the capital self, then it's not an illusion because God is real and that is our real nature. So this whole challenge of life is to experience that God is state, right? So that's it, Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. I
Have you
repeat
dodged
my
the
question.
Mahapralaya question? Wait.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
that's the question. Karthik, you go ahead.
Mr.
What's
Physics,
your understanding?
Mr.
What's your
Physics, comma. Yeah. What happens
Every
in
day is
Mahapralaya?
Mahapralaya. Mahapralaya is dissolution every day, boss. I talk to you today. Right now, I wake up in
Yeah.
the Ganges today morning and I walk the bridge towards Ramnagar, and I had this beautiful kachori and chai and jalebi, and then
You
the
there?
signal started like
Mm-hmm.
7:30. Hello, yes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So what I'm
Yeah.
what I'm trying to
There's a
say
bridge.
is that the Mahapralaya we are talking about, we are undergoing it every day. Morning, you wake up, your Brahma creation, Vishnu preservation, and Shiva dissolution. So we are actually going through mini Mahapralaya every day because there is no reason if I drop my body tomorrow, it's over. You know, Karma is gone. Like so, I think
Karma is
Mahapralaya
not
is
gone.
in the
Karma
big.
is not gone. Soul remains. Body goes.
No, no, no. When we say Mahapralaya, even there Paramatma exists. It's only that there is no creation. There is no what do you call these
My question
manifestation
is
of
very
matter.
specific. My question is very specific. Does the time
Yes.
dimension exist at Mahapralaya or it doesn't?
No, 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 no. That is only in the waking state. All this Mahapralaya
No, no,
exists,
no
but it doesn't have
states.
anything with it.
No
Hmm?
states. These are states are an illusion. All your states, waking, sleeping, are illusion. I'm saying
Yes. Yes.
the real Mahapralaya,
Yes.
you know,
That is also
does
an
the time,
illusion because hmm,
No,
does the
actually, the
time,
real Mahapralaya happens only one time, Sunil. That is when
Mhm.
people get God realization, the world ends. That is the Mahapralaya. There are a number of
No. So
pralayas.
I think uh all, all of you are saying correct things, but in different context, right? So Kama's expression of Mahapralaya is personal, is also right in a general sense. But Mahapralaya, as mentioned in discourses and described in discourses by Baba, is a cycle of cycles, a cycle where, to Ravi's point, it's not. So
Correct.
it happens. It's a cycle. It happens once in a few eras, okay, and then everything goes into suspension. The curious question of Sunil deserves introspection. What happens to the idea of time? I've been thinking the last few seconds or last few minutes since the question. I would say it's just the same that happens in non Mahapralaya time, which is the idea of time is operating at a level where it will get suspended and restarted automatically, right? So the before before clocks were invented, before the idea of time itself happens only after the Om point. So at the time of Mahapralaya, everything is just frozen temporarily, including the idea of time. And then it just kicks up, springs forth into action. So that's
Yeah.
my
Let me
limited level of
let me tell
comprehension at this time.
three practical pralaya. Okay. So evening we go to sleep, right? What happens to the world when we sleep? For you, it stops. But when you wake up, the world starts again. That is a simple pralaya. Every night we experience a pralaya. And the ultimate one, when you completely all the manonash happens to you, when you get God realization, this world never existed at all. That is the biggest Mahapralaya. This is number two. Third one is when the sanskaras become uncontrollable, they close the shop for a while to settle down whatever is the things. During the settling period, all this balance happens. I don't know. No, I don't know how it happens, but when the time comes back again, the whole world starts again. That is another kind of Mahabharata. There are like four different kinds of pralayas that are explained.
Agreed. Agreed. But
Yeah,
just to be fair, I think Sunil's question is specifically as Mahapralaya described in chapter 23, I mean, page 23, beginning and the end of creation, where between cycles, between the beginning and end of this changing world, there are many cycles. But and Mahapralaya is the great annihilation of the world when the world becomes what it was in the beginning, namely nothing, big nothing, right?
mm,
So it's not may. So he extends the Mahapralaya of the world may be compared with the sleep of a person. So it's a mini Mahapralaya when you compare it. But Mahapralaya as a technical term is the big cycle. So that's why I said what Kama and Ravi are saying are also correct, but that's not the context in which Sunil asked the question. I hope I'm correct. And Kama, you were saying something
Yes.
before Ravi started.
Yeah,
Yes.
Baba. Yeah.
Yes.
See, whenever you talk about Mahapralaya, that means there is an opposite. Whenever you talk about the concept of God, then you have Maya, the opposite of duality. See, beyond
Correct.
God and Maya is the God eternal state, which, as clearly said in God Speaks in the supplement, it can't be even explained by the perfect masters and avatar, that particular Paratpar Parabrahma state, okay? Conscious state. So, coming back to Sunil's question of Mahapralaya, is it related to time? Time is only a factor during the waking state of consciousness. Mahapralaya is independent of time. See, if you start connecting time and Mahapralaya, then we are caught in duality. Remember that on time is a factor, space time is a factor only in the waking state of consciousness in the 16 hours, and it's part of the illusion. So the Mahapralaya is more of a concept because if you look at the multiverse, if there are many universes, suppose this universe, which was created 13.8 billion years ago, and there was a different universe before that, which scientists have not talked about, they talk about the multiverse. So you can say with this particular universe, there will be Mahapralaya because when all the stars lose their hydrogen, into helium and all that stuff, In the Big Bang goes into the back into. So the analogy I can give you is the concept of the onion. You keep removing the layers of the onion. What happens? You come to shunyata, nothingness. And that I think is the closest approximation you can think about what existence is, that it's all about nothingness. There is existence and there is a paradox of nothingness, but I think we are not reached that state of mind of God realization where we can understand these paradoxes. So for me, the closest example would be the peeling of the onion. And Mahapralaya is just a concept, okay? Because as everybody agreed, that every day we go through Mahapralaya when we go to sleep, basically. That's it. Yeah, Baba.
I think
Okay.
simply, let me cut it
Just to be
short.
fair,
Simply,
Sunil,
yeah, let me
just to be
summarize it,
fair to Sunil, I
Karthik.
think everybody dodged your question, but go ahead, Sunil.
Yeah, okay. The big dissolution, the big Mahapralaya, as all the Hindu mythologies and also Baba's explanations explain. At that time, there is no creation, no gross world, mental world, subtle world, no change, no
No time.
causation, nothing happens, no time. It's freeze, absolute freeze. What happens in Paratpar Parabram state, we don't understand, I agree. But it probably goes to that state and complete freeze. Everything is dissolved. Whether there is another rebirth or something, looks like there is. So, Raviji, I think there's not just one Mahapralaya. For individual, maybe yes, but the creation, maybe God again gets a whim or something. I'm not sure, but looks like it's a cycle. Ends with Mahapralaya, maybe then another cycle begins, which we don't know. I don't know the answer to that. But yes, the simple answer is no time dimension after Mahapralaya until the next cycle begins. Jai Baba. Let's move on. Sorry.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think well summarized. I agree. Thank you.
Thank you.
Though he suffers, he forgives. And that's the next chapter. God comes as the avatar to wipe out the unnaturalness in human consciousness, and this is known as the forgiveness of sins. This forgiveness is not through his words, but through his actions. His forgiveness wipes out the sanskaric unnaturalness in each individual. Very profound. I will repeat this slowly. God comes as the avatar to wipe out the unnaturalness in human consciousness, and this is known as the forgiveness of sins. This forgiveness is not through his words, but through his actions. His forgiveness wipes out the sanskaric unnaturalness in each individual. What is this sanskaric unnaturalness of human consciousness called sin? Unnaturalness or sin is produced by those actions which in turn produce terrible sanskaric obstructions, making one unable to follow the path toward truth. I repeat, unnaturalness or sin is produced by those actions which in turn produce terrible sanskaric obstructions, making one unable to follow the path towards truth. So, similar language was used in earlier references to unnatural sanskaras, anything that comes in the way of your progress towards God, towards big T truth, towards big R reality, whatever, right? So, same thing. So, that is also equated to sin in this chapter. Okay. And this line, I think, is also very important. I hope we get to hear more on this further in the paragraphs below. I continue. Thus, the realization of God, which ought to be the most natural for human consciousness to achieve, becomes impossible to achieve. And God, who is most close to man, seems most far. Lover and the beloved, right? One is reminded of the lover and the beloved essay, right? Let's continue. Hypocrisy is the worst kind of sin, and it is called unforgivable because it is the worst, most unnatural condition of human consciousness. Hypocrites are in the worst of predicaments because they pose to be that which they are not. Hypocrites are therefore the most unnatural of persons. The actions which are necessary for progress towards the path of truth are unnatural actions, and these unnatural acts produce more unnatural impressions. These are the sins which delay the development of involutionary consciousness, that is, the natural progress of human individual consciousness. The natural aim of life is to realize the big T truth and to become one with the big T truth. This natural aim becomes intensely self conscious during the process of involution. Thus, the actions which help one to follow the path to big T truth and thereby enter one's own involution are natural sanskaric actions. Those actions which prevent one from following the path toward involution are unnatural sanskaric actions, sins. Sinful actions produce unnatural impressions, which produce unnatural states of human consciousness, and so human beings find themselves in unnatural situations. These unnatural sanskaras are like a coat of thorns, and when one has a coat of thorns, he cannot pass through a tangle of thorns with others, and so his progress is delayed. His own coat of thorns gets stuck and entangled with the thorns of another. All sanskaras are like bindings of cloth, but unnatural sanskaras stick to one like thorns. And as one is cloaked with thorns, when one becomes when one comes across someone else cloaked with thorns, one inevitably gets entangled with him. Because of this entanglement of thorns, meshed with thorns, one's progress towards the path of truth is seriously hindered. In other words, those with unnatural sanskaras generally end up getting entangled in a heap of thorns with those who have similar unnatural sanskaras. The avatar works to forgive, and his forgiveness is to show the way to the path of big T truth for each one. He has to remove the heap of thorns produced by each one's unnatural actions with others. To remove the heap of thorns is his work. And while he works, he suffers because these thorns are enmeshed in each one's consciousness. Since the thorns stick to one and the avatar has to remove them, there is suffering. And this suffering causes yet another obstruction, resentment. This is, I hope this paragraph, this line is reference to the individual soul, which is basically the thorns stick to one and the avatar has to remove. And when he is removing those thorns, the individual soul goes through suffering. And this suffering causes yet another obstruction, resentment. There is an example. So let's see. For example, Meher Baba has to rid a hypocritical guru or false saint of his hypocrisy. The hypocrite poses himself to be a real saint and spiritual teacher, and so he deceives others. He enjoys this way of life and he is unwilling to give it up at any cost. To change this false guru is a difficult task because the false guru loves this way of life and he wants to continue appealing to his followers. Any act of changing him is met with resentment. And this resentment, which obstructs the work of the avatar, contributes to the suffering of the avatar while he works to change that hypocrite. Wow. So our resentment is contributing to the suffering of the avatar, and that resentment comes from Baba's efforts to remove the thorn, the unnaturalness in our consciousness. I continue. The avatar
Which,
works to
Jay Baba,
remove.
sorry, Jay Baba, does this signify that all kinds of human suffering is basically untangling of the thorns by the avatar directly or indirectly? And so we have to accept suffering like a prasad, Jay Baba.
Yes,
Yes,
Point, Baba. Good point.
I was suffering is a benediction.
there you go. So
I guess
this,
Ashok
in,
will confirm that, right? What do you think, Ashok?
I see last 14 months I've been in and out of hospital and coming back home, and I've gone through a lot of, uh, if I can say, pain, and I think it is a benediction. I myself, Karthik also discussed this, you know, but God gave me the power even to join MBA meetings, even when I was in the hospital. At one side, blood was being transfused, and I was on the meeting. So it's a benediction, and He gives the energy, the power to face the sufferings. That's my personal experience. Jebao, hello, am I audible? Sorry.
yeah, yes, 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 absolutely. I was just pausing to see if anybody else is going to talk. Okay,
Yeah, Kama,
let me
you want to say?
continue then.
Kama, you want to?
Let me continue. The avatar works to remove the heap of thorns that are produced by unnatural actions so that the path towards truth can become clear. Whenever he is met with resentment as he works to remove the thorns of unnaturalness, he suffers. His nature is mercy. He comes on earth to forgive all. He forgives individuals by changing them, and this is a sanskaric change. And since he is always met with resentment, he suffers. Though he suffers as a result of one's resistance and resentment, his work does not fail. Sanskaras are wiped out. People change because of his forgiveness. For his forgiveness was in his actions that removed their thorns. To wipe out the heaps of entangled thorns in the world, to forgive the sins of mankind. The avatar has to work infinitely, and because he is met with resentment and resistance from the whole world, he suffers infinitely, and thus he is crucified. It is the world's resentment of him that is his crucifixion. And this means his work is finished. By his suffering, crucifixion, from the resentment of mankind, the world's resistance is wiped away in his forgiveness. I repeat, by his suffering crucifixion from the resentment of mankind, the world's resistance is wiped away in his forgiveness. So there's so much of depth to the mere statement that Baba went through suffering. The suffering that Avatar goes through is real versus what the perfect master experiences. So he's actually undoing stuff, and that's with forgiveness, and that is and the whole of creation resents that. Why? We are so tempted and in the illusory world, enjoying the unnatural sanskaras and the unnatural ness. The unnaturalness is more attractive, and The removal of those unnaturalness leads us to experience personal unhappiness, which leads to resentment, and that resentment leads to more suffering in the hands of the avatar. I continue. When the world's resistance is wiped out, mankind will see Meher Baba as the way to the path of truth. The time of the world turning to him and receiving his forgiveness is the time of his manifestation. This means that mankind rids itself of its own unnatural tendencies. In order to forgive the sins of the world and manifest as its savior, the avatar has to work and suffer crucifixion. But though he is crucified, he never punishes anyone. At last, through his own crucifixion, the all merciful knows his work of forgiveness is finished. At last, through his own crucifixion, the all merciful Avatar Meher Baba knows his work of forgiveness is finished. Right? Okay. I think that must be the end of that chapter. Yes, it is. Any thoughts before we go to what is our strength? Very moving chapter, if you ask me, in the sense
Every time we talk
makes
about
one think.
unnatural sanskara, hello,
Yeah,
Jay
please go
Baba, can
ahead.
you hear me?
Yes, yes, go ahead.
Yeah,
Unnatural
I,
sanskaras.
I
Right.
was, I was
Now you are lost.
the human
Karma.
form. That is where
Karma, you have to start again. We lost
sanskaras
you for a
become
bit.
unnatural. Okay, sorry about the network. I'm saying that anytime we are talking about unnatural sanskaras, we should say unnatural human sanskaras, right? Unnatural, inorganic human sanskaras, which is basically what we call as spending sanskaras. Whereas when we go through evolution, it is the organic, natural sanskaras, which is winding sanskaras. So we have three kinds of sanskaras. That is through evolution, which is winding sanskaras, then reincarnation, spending sanskaras, and involution, unwinding sanskaras. And then, of course, we have, the prarabdha sanskaras. There are, that is based on the law of karma and all that. So that's on a different aspect or context. We talk about those sanskaras also. Anyway, Jai Baba.
Okay, let's continue. What is our strength? God is one and God is indivisible. God is the soul of our souls. Therefore, each soul is nothing but God. But if each soul is God, each one ought to experience what God experiences: infinite knowledge, power, and bliss. Because God is infinite knowledge, infinite power, and infinite bliss. Because of ignorance, each soul fails to experience infinite knowledge, power, and bliss. It experiences only the shadows of these attributes of divine nature. Seven shadows interweave between infinite consciousness and infinite unconsciousness. These seven shadows are seven forms of existence existing in a state of ignorance. The mental world contains the first and second shadows. The subtle world contains four shadows, and the gross world is the seventh shadow. Therefore, in order to experience infinite knowledge, power, and bliss, each individual has to cross these seven shadows. To cross the seven shadows of non existence, one has to rid oneself, of his own inner shadow, his ignorance. Crossing these seven shadows is the aim of human consciousness.
Jai
So,
Baba.
just Go ahead.
Yeah, it's very interesting out here. The seven shadows. So if the seven shadows includes the gross sphere of existence, which basically is the seventh shadow. But when we look at the planes of involution, because it's very interesting, the mental world contains the first and second shadows, which is basically the fifth and sixth plane. The subtle world has the four shadows, which is basically the first to the fourth plane of involution. And then we know the seventh plane of involution is where you attain nirvana or nirvikalpa samadhi, God realization. And here it is interesting to note that the seventh shadow is basically the gross sphere of existence. I never come across this any other time, but it's a very interesting point here that the seventh shadow is the gross world of existence, whereas the seventh plane of involution is where you have God realization. Jai Baba.
Yeah.
No, Kama, I think it is coming the reverse way. See, the
Reverse.
first
Yeah.
mental world contains the first and second shadows. Subtly is contains four shadows, and then he's coming to the opposite side, gross world. That's what is the seventh shadow. I think you're
Yeah, no,
going
no,
in one
you're
direction.
correct. You're correct. It's ascension and descension kind of thing. Yes, what you're saying
Yeah.
is that the seventh plane of involution is the highest plane, the God realized real plane, or the what you call as the real sphere of existence. Whereas
Mhm.
the gross sphere is the most, the what do you
The
call the
grossest.
shadow?
Mm.
Yeah, the grossest. Yeah, seventh, most gross form of shadow. Yeah, Baba.
So,
Okay. But because of the clutches of ignorance, one remains attached to his own shadow of ignorance and seeks instead the shadow of happiness. Happiness in the state of ignorance is nothing but misery, because this happiness is a product of ignorance, the shadow of God's knowledge. One must cross beyond the boundary of happiness and misery, which keeps one out of the subtle world. This boundary is the seventh shadow of God, and it must be crossed in order to start the inner journey towards God. So it starts with
Um,
one, yeah.
sorry. The comment I wanted to make was: does it mean that based on God Speak supplement that the 7,000 in the spiritual hierarchy is basically between the first plane of involution and the seventh plane of involution? Uh, so there are only 7,000 individual soul consciousness at a time between the planes of involution, and most of the other people are stuck in the gross sphere of existence, which is the seventh shadow. Is that correct? Okay, Baba.
In the gross shadow.
yeah, I
Correct.
think so. I
Yes.
think so. Yeah, that's how we can understand with the little
Correct.
information we have, whatever the information we have.
So which means that when the world's population 100 years ago was probably 3 billion or whatever that number is. I mean, we can talk about India, 1947, 300 million, 1971, 700 million, and today, 2025, 26, 1.6 billion. So, does it mean, I mean, this is always very, I always think about it, that most of the souls who are in the other so-called planet Earths, apparently planet Earths or other Earth-like planets, they all want to reincarnate in the in India because that is where the eternal avatar, the avatar has manifested. So I sometimes wonder that this whole population increase is not just about medical technology, but also that the soul consciousness want to get liberated or move faster. And the only way you can do it is on planet Earth, where now the eternal avataric infinite consciousness is still available as Baba is available in the personal form, but in the impersonal form, much more stronger. So that is my notion, Jai Baba.
Yeah, very interesting
Interesting.
observation. I also observed the same thing. I came across this graph, the world population growth each year. Till 1922, it was going very slight improvement. It took off in 1922 and reached the maximum now, still growing. I think I posted that a few years ago,
I
couple of
remember.
years, last year or something.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
thought
I
that's
remember
interesting.
this.
That
Yeah.
is when I connected it with Avataric work started around 1921, 22, right? At that time,
Correct.
that's what I'm thinking, but this is my 2 cents. But not only Kama, to answer your idea, I think it's not only just other planets coming and born here, but also I think there's an evolution growth, from the animals people are getting to be humans also. That is also there.
Both
Probably.
ways. Yeah.
Nobody has read
Yeah.
it. This is just
Yes,
a
yes,
thought.
yeah, yeah.
It's a multifaceted, multidimensional increase. I mean, push from multiple categories to enter into the human consciousness at this special time. And yeah, very interesting
So
observations.
would you say that the evolution of technology, especially the industrial revolution 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, 4.0, from steam engine to now disruptive technologies, which have accelerated from 150 years to 45 to 20 to 5 to 7 years, and on an equivalent basis, the population has also increased. So, in a way, information is now, the knowledge is available to everyone now. That is the beauty of this current civilization, Yeah, Baba.
And also, we have to understand there is Putin and Netanyahu who are killing people left and right? That's also happening simultaneously. COVID,
Just like
all these
just like
people.
Ravana and
Huh?
Kauravas, So it's the same old story, same old song, lust, greed, and
Same
anger,
old Yeah, natural process happening. Destruction is happening simultaneously
Yep,
for, for a good cause.
absolutely. Okay, let's
We are in a
continue.
good divine soap opera, as far as I'm concerned. We are all actors playing our roles of sanskaras. Yeah, Baba.
Yeah, Baba. I continue. A gross conscious human being is held within the strongest clutches of ignorance, and so it is difficult for him to cross the boundary beyond happiness and misery. Therefore, one must have a guide who can help him cross all seven shadows and give him knowledge of his divinity. To guide human beings through the seven shadows is the help that the avatar gives, and he helps all. To guide human consciousness through these seven shadows is his duty, and he takes on this duty to help guide others, whether one seeks his help or not. The avatar is our guide. His guidance is our strength. That guidance reveals the path towards truth and through these seven shadows. I repeat, that guidance reveals the path towards truth through these seven shadows. If we accept him as our strength to cross these worlds of shadows, we have to depend on his guidance completely. Just as a traveler in a foreign country must depend on a guide to find his way through unfamiliar foreign land. But how does one depend on him? Once we have accepted him as our guide, his guidance becomes our strength, and so we do not need the pride of material strength. The world prides itself in wealth, name, fame, intellect, authority, education, etc. But one has to remain detached from these material attainments because they are not really strengths. They are only attachments. The one way to be attached from these forces of the world is to accept him as one's guide. It is by his guidance that one finds the strength to be led beyond the boundary of happiness and misery. How does one remain detached?
Jay Baba, one Karthik, just one comment.
Sure.
In not the paragraph that you read, the previous paragraph, if you can go back, um, the last line is very interesting. To guide human consciousness through these seven shadows is his duty, and he
Yeah,
takes on
yeah.
this duty to help guide others, whether one seeks his help or not. That is a beautiful statement that the doctor is always in on duty, whether you go to him or not.
Yeah.
You know,
Whether you accept
I,
him
I
or not, whether you
right.
recognize him or not.
Whether you seek his help or not, because what it tells me personally is that when you meet people with whom you don't get along or you have a dispute, you know, in any form, physical, emotional, intellectual, financial, and you kind of wonder why is this person not getting it. But I think this
Yeah.
line helps us
No.
to be patient and respond positively that this person is probably going through ignorance, but Baba is there to guide him, whether he seeks his help or not. And we have to take it in that sense, you know. Hey, Baba.
No, actually, what I'm thinking is we don't even know how to take help from Baba. He helps us. What is the need for us? That's how we seek to him, and then he helps us. He's the one who creates the need for our help. We don't even know. We are such an ignorant people. We don't even know that we can take help from God. Why? How many people know that their goal is to become one with him? I don't know anything about few years ago. Only after reading Baba's literature, then Baba tells me, "Hey, your goal is to become one with me." Uh, so Baba also helps us to be out of ignorance, so that we can be on the path. And another thought that comes to me is, again, I'm going back to Peter Nordin's and what parts talks. What is that new book he's working on? Diaries, right?
Yeah,
Uh, uh, Mandali Diaries or something like that, right?
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
I'm struggling to remember the name. Yeah,
Something like that. Anyway, the
the new
diaries were
one. Yeah,
written by Mandali, and there's another book is going to be, they are working on that, and one day is going to be released. And when that book was edited and made, when Baba was there, he gave the book to Rustum and a couple of people. They were all very happy and told Baba, Baba, we need to publish this as soon as possible. And Baba said, no, 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 not now. Time has to come. People should be ready to receive it. And I need to work on the ability of the people to receive that knowledge. Then only we can release. So that book till now is not released. That means we are not ready to receive that
ready.
knowledge yet. Even God Speaks also was released in 1954, right? And Baba had to do a lot of seclusion work. And for example, the new book that was released, The Creation and Causes, how many days Baba was in that pit, in the Samadhi pit, not drinking anything, just seclusion 100% of the time. Only time he was coming out was to give these talks to the Premashram boys. And that
Many times just through
was
the
made as
window.
this
Yeah,
book. And how this news has, the information has to spread to the people. Baba works in this seclusion so that we're all benefiting from our understanding. And that ultimately gives us how to walk in the future. Jai Baba.
Jay Baba, on a humorous note, you know, to when Ravi talks about Baba's seclusion and going through all those fasts, kind of reminds me in the material world, in the tech industry, we all know about the so-called tech billionaires who started off with working on small projects. Like, you know, if you look at PayPal, I was just reading about PayPal, you know, how, you know, Musk was part of it, you know, and there were a couple of other guys, the founders, the guy who's now running Palantir and all that. I mean, these guys worked their ass off. Like, they slept under the desks and, did all that work. And now, PayPal has lost its shine, because it went through many changes or whatever. But my point, the analogy out here is that, even an avatar who is, infinite power, infinite knowledge, infinite bliss, when he comes in human form, he becomes like a human being and he pushes himself physically, mentally, as what you just mentioned, So just a thought, Jai Baba.
Yep, he's the busiest CEO who's
Yeah,
slogging. Yeah,
he is. Yeah.
let's try to finish this one paragraph, and then that will end this essay. So I continue. How does one remain detached? Let us suppose money represents the strength of the world. A banker is always in contact with money. A banker deals with money all day long. Millions of dollars are deposited and are drawn out. And the banker keeps a careful account of the money that is deposited and withdrawn. However, he remains detached from the money itself because he knows the money does not belong to him. In the same way, one should remain detached from the material strength of the world, knowing that money is only a form of attachment to the world. The banker knows full well that the money does not belong to him, and we should know that his attachment does not belong on the path of truth. Money is simply one of the many attachments. To remain detached from money and the many other strengths of the world, one must be attached to the truth. And this can only be achieved by accepting the guidance of the avatar who leads one to realize Dikti truth. Very interesting and nice, simple analogy. Just by handling something, you cannot become attached to it, but you make the mistake that the banker does not do. The banker does not have any illusion of owning the money that passes through his hands. Let's simplify it even further. Let's just take the teller. The teller in a bank has so much of money going through him, but he's absolutely detached in the process. He does not think that any of it is his. His only focus and energy is on making sure that he is not responsible for any shortfall at the end of the day. And that's it. So he's focusing on process, he's focusing on his skills, and he does not think what passes through his hands is his. It's a very beautiful analogy for us to relate to in the material world. So as we go through the world, all that's passing through our hands is actually none of it that's worthy of being attached to. And I think that's a good note to take away. Sorry for the pun, note to take away as we slip into a fresh new week starting tomorrow. And we will stop at this point and continue next Saturday as planned.
Deba,
So,
I wanted to say, I take 60 seconds if it's okay. First of all, we should all be very grateful to our tech manager, Karthik. Last 6+ years, he's been relentlessly, you know, doing the
it's
background.
just, yeah,
Yeah, and second is that if you could please underline the last lines.
yes, sir, will do.
To remain detached from money and many others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, just as a gentle prod, I hope some of you at least try to open the MBA folders so that you know how to get to it. And once you do it, it becomes easier and more accessible, right? I hope you did it.
Yeah,
Yeah, on that, excellent. So that will give you, you do it a couple of times and then it's not so, it becomes matter of fact, right? It's just clicking a link and then you get to all the stuff that's available for you.
absolutely right. It becomes intuitive, sort of.
Correct.
By the
Yeah.
way, I posted Peter Nordin's talk in
I
the
noticed. Thank you.
WhatsApp. And I think it is there. And I think three talks I noticed he's mentioning about money as being the
Money
Ishvara.
being Ishvara. Very, very
Mm.
interesting. I will catch up on those, and I will probably also do some research on the concept of Ishvara. Everybody else is also welcome to do that, and then we connect back. Everybody have a great
Baba talk about it in the
week ahead.
infinite intelligence.
Correct.
Yeah, Baba
That's
talked about
the
infinite
first
in the
source.
Ishvara about infinite intelligence. Yeah.
Correct. So now, thanks to Infinite Intelligence textual form and ebook being available, I've already loaded it to the repository of Notebook LLM with Baba. So I will go and prod around, and see what it comes up with, and then we will probably discuss in the coming week. By the way, Mamaji is bereaved, and that's how he didn't show up today. I lost
What is
my
that? What is
aunt.
that?
He lost his sister. No, no, Mamaji is bereaved.
Oh,
I lost my aunt, and Mamaji lost her his sister. So we were
Which
both
aunt?
there, and
Not
then
the Bangalore one, not the Mysore one,
Mysore,
right?
Mysore one. She
Oh,
unfortunate. Yeah, suddenly she
Vivekananda
died.
Ramakrishna lady
Correct.
who lost her
So
husband, both the sons.
yes, both the sons
I met
exactly
her. In
same.
fact, I was planning to meet her next time, because I met this
Yeah.
lady through Vidya who's
Mhm.
become a Baba lover who lives in Mysore, who lost her only son who went to IIT Madras who committed suicide. And then the father died
Oh,
and she's all alone. It's crazy story,
so
wow.
what's her
Vidya
name?
asked me to meet her.
What's her
No,
name?
that lady lives in Mysore now. I will tell you her name because I
She's in
forget.
contact with
Uh,
Geeta, actually. She's in, yeah.
Yes. I think that's the one. Geeta met her also, and she stayed at Geeta's place to go to Baba's birthday, I believe. That's right. That's the same
Yeah,
Okay.
lady I
yeah,
met
yeah, yeah.
in MPR. It is a crazy story. I can tell you, like how Baba turned the key because she was supposed to go to Shirdi Sai Baba, and then this Meher Baba, second generation lady, mentioned to her that once you come to Baba, you go directly home because she was supposed to meet her brother in Pune and all that. And I think she's gone through some amazing, after getting to know about Baba. So I'm really, Karthik, I'm really sorry to hear about your aunt because I
Yeah,
remember
very
we met
sorry.
her. We had a wonderful
Correct.
time with her, and she was an amazing lady. I mean, she was a case study of
Very.
somebody who lost so many people, and now she's gone to Baba. That is anyway.
So
Our time had come. I think.
since we met
Yes.
Kama, just as a little tribute to her, she since we met her, I mean, obviously she was broken with the last loss, which was the son, the elder son, and then she was all alone. But she bounced back, set up a trust, and she has done a lot of almost the last 2 years. She has done phenomenal work with the tribals in and around Bandipur. Of
Oh
course,
boy.
ably helped with a lot of
Mm.
nephews
Mm.
and extended family. But she set up this trust, and she was super active the last 2 years, right? So her recognition of purpose and selfless service was shining right through, and it was on display in the funeral where there were hundreds of people, a lot of people that all of us didn't recognize as family, but then they were all people who were moved by her service. So it was very poignant and Baba-ful to see her leave. But yeah, that time had come. So it was sudden. She went
And
through multiple
she,
medical crises,
yes.
but she was fine.
Oh,
She just died in her sleep 2 days back.
oh, that is so peaceful, And I remember that she hosted a lot of yoga students, foreign students who came to the
Yes,
Mysore yoga
yes,
schools.
yes.
So she did a lot of
Yeah,
selfless service. She was like a mother to a lot of those
yeah.
students, I think, especially the
Lot
female
of those
students.
people. Oh,
Yes.
they have great stories there. You should
Yes,
go
yes,
on
yes.
Facebook and see
Yeah,
their
send the
attachment with
link to
her.
us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Anyway, thank
Karthik,
you
where are
for your
you? Where are
condolences.
you?
I'm in Bangalore now. I'm in Bangalore now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Jai Baba.
All right.
Yeah.
Baba, Jai
Yeah,
Baba ki jai.
Yeah, Baba. Yeah, Baba.